Good morning, everyone. My name is Luke, and I'm the music director here. And today we're going to start off with two songs with Hymn 169, We Shall Overcome, the first three verses, followed by What Kind of World? I wanna see? What kind of world do I wanna leave to my children's children? Now is the time to make up my mind. Yeah, what kind of world is this gonna be? What kind of world will be my legacy to the generations for all humankind? It's time to decide what kind of world. Will it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful and kind? Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Oh yeah. Will everybody have enough? Will we speak a language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it's all up to what you and I decide. What kind of world do we want to have when we will be ready to start giving back to this precious place? To every young face, tell every boy and girl, what kind of world? Will it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful and kind? Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Oh yeah. Will everybody have enough? Will we speak in the language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it's all up to what you and I decide. What kind of world do we want to have? When will we be ready to start giving back to this precious place? To every young face, tell every boy and girl, what kind of world?
Thank you, Luke. Good morning and welcome to UUCC. I'm Regina Nelson, your lay leader, and I'm thrilled to see everyone here, whether in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom or YouTube. If you're in the sanctuary, be aware that this service is recorded for YouTube. The tables at the back are available if you would prefer to avoid appearing on camera. Please refrain from talking during the recording to avoid unintentional broadcasting and silence your cell phones. Visitors can explore literature about our UU faith in the entrance and in our community room. You can also join our Zoom social time after the service. Discover more about our church, programs for children and youth, and weekly opportunities to connect with us on our website, uucommunitychurch.org. Situated on Shaver Road in Portage, Michigan, our church on the ancestral lands of the Peoria and Potawatomi people proudly displays a rainbow flag and Black Lives Matter sign, symbolizing our inclusive community dedicated to creating a just and sustainable world. We are a community on diverse spiritual journeys, and we enjoy hearing differing points of view from our minister, Reverend G. Ludwig McCartney, guest ministers, lay leaders, and guest speakers. Today, Reverend G will talk about patriotism. Thanks to everyone contributing to this morning's service, our greeters, musician, tech team, coffee host, and each of you. Your presence and contributions are truly appreciated. Now we have some announcements. We are having a church spring cleaning day on Saturday, May 31st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. to get things spruced up around here. There is a sign-up sheet on the table at the back of the sanctuary, but No one has signed up so far. If you can, please plan to come help for an hour or two. Our annual meeting will take place on Sunday, June 1st at 11:15 a.m. here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Members and friends should have received the meeting packet via email with the agenda, budget, and slate of nominees. If you did not, please contact the office so we can get that to you. Have you decided what you're bringing to the Interfaith Portage Pride Picnic on June 8th from 12:30 to 3 at Portage United Church of Christ on Millam? It is not a competition, of course, but you know the Presbyterians, Congregationalists, and Episcopalians are going to be bringing their very best potluck dishes. And we do not want to let down Team Unitarian Universalism. So please, mark your calendars and start planning your amazing potluck dish and plan to attend this wonderful community picnic in support of LGBTQIA+, equity, and inclusion. Now it's time to light the chalice. Today, globally, Unitarian Universalists continue to light the chalice. As truth seekers, we pursue a resilient truth that withstands questioning and doubts. The flame serves as a constant reminder of our shared values, bringing them to life in our community. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Today's reading is Equality in a Sea of Inequality by Peggy Clark. When this country was founded, the aspiration was high. The men who imagined it dreamed big, casting a vision of a world where all men were created equal, where rights were endowed by our Creator, transcending culture and the expectations of the day, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be allowed and enjoyed without infringement. It was a radical and new vision, born from Enlightenment optimism. Inspired by scientific discovery, it was an intoxicating vision, as bold as the Protestant Reformation that swept all of Europe. And they had the hubris to believe that they could make it happen. They staked their claim in the Declaration of Independence and institutionalized it in the Constitution. They elected their first president, and when he stepped down, relinquishing power to return to the role of citizen, those founders believed they lived to see their vision realized. A new president ran for office, and the republic was up and running. It was done. A new world order. Those men weren't distracted by the genocide they inspired or the enslavement of other people they required for this nation to be born. They declared equality while swimming in a sea of inequality. They didn't mean women. When they declared all men were created equal, they meant white, Protestant men. They didn't mean women. They weren't including Black people who had been enslaved or those who were free. They didn't include Catholics, Jews, or people who didn't own land. They were so proud of their inclusivity, so inspired by their own cutting-edge philosophy that they had no idea how narrow it was, how constrictive, how small a vision. The men who wrote those words were calling into being a more perfect union. They were establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, securing the blessings of liberty. They believed that they, the men of their generation, would will this new nation into being. They would establish the structures required for such a grand vision. They would test it, and then it would be done. They didn't realize it would require many more people, many different voices. They didn't know how many generations would have to be a part of the creation of that dream, how long it would take before the nation they imagined would be made manifest. The soul of America has yet to be born.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out, finding what it's all about. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. Change your mind and change your life. Set aside the fear and strife. Together we can change the world. When we open up our eyes, let's learn to realize. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. With our hands and with our hearts, we can dare to make a start. Together we can change the world. What if we spoke with voice, knowing that we had a choice? Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world.
Good morning. How are you? I'm Reverend G. I'm delighted to have you here in the sanctuary and there on the holy interwebs and on Zoom. I'm glad you're here. And I also feel like everything has already been said. Maybe it's too hot, the mic. Yeah, there we go. Everything has already been said, either in words by Regina or in song by Luke. So we're done here. Today, we are going to talk about the difference between patriotism and nationalism. And I know that they sound maybe an awful lot alike. Like one might think, what's the difference? And the difference is in the future that they each bring about. But before we talk about the future, let's talk about the past. So about 70,000 years ago, that's how far back I'm taking you, because why wouldn't I? About 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens did something that no other creature had done before. It began telling stories. Stories not only about where to find food and shelter and where the danger is coming from, but stories of who we are. Stories of where we want to go. Stories of belonging. And so these stories shaped our entire existence. Look, if you dissect a human being and you look in the genetics or you look in the cells, you cannot identify the American gene, the European gene, you can't. That only exists in our stories. These countries are also not something that were given to us, these borders, these boundaries, by up above. We decided, based on stories that we created, what these borderlines look like. And then, in order to create a country, we had to create a story that would bring many, many people together to cooperate. Initially, Homo sapiens lived in small tribes. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody communicated with everybody. It was easy to govern a small tribe. But needs changed. And then tribes started to join together. And then more tribes joined together. So larger groups of people started living together. And to be able to govern larger groups of people, a new story had to be created. Why should we live together? Why should we choose some people who govern over us, who tell us what our myths should be, what our laws should be? Why should we accept that? And that's how our world was created, little by little, story by story. And today, there are two stories that are in the forefront of most of us, and that is patriotism and nationalism. These are also stories that we people created. And like I said, they sound an awful lot alike, but they're very different in the future that they lead to. Patriotism. Patriotism, I would call it love with responsibility. Love with accountability. It's the story of how this country was created, how the document of independence was created, how our Constitution was created, however incomplete. In fact, the theologian Niebuhr said that nothing worthwhile can be achieved in one lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing worthwhile can be achieved in a lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. So no, it's not complete. It's not perfect. It is becoming. There is that story in the Old Testament where Moses walks up to the burning bush. And it is clear to him that he's standing in front of, or in the presence of something holy, something extraordinary. And this is the first time that God reveals himself to Moses. And most Bibles translated that God says about himself, I am that I am. But if you go and look back at the original Jewish text, a truer translation would be, I am who I am becoming. I am that who I am becoming. And I think that is our democracy as well. It is a constant becoming. It is a constant becoming of expansiveness, of extending inclusion, so more people can fit into the stand. And it is constantly becoming. It is love with responsibility and love with accountability. True patriotism acknowledges the past. True patriotism can hold two thoughts at the same time. One is, we've done horrendous things in the past. We must acknowledge them and we must heal them. And we also have this vision that we are going towards that will heal the past and will create a future that proves that we've done the work of accountability, of responsibility, of healing, of forgiveness. A future of inclusivity. A future where the possibility for more and more people is built in to become freely who they've become here to be. True patriotism is paying your taxes. True patriotism means I pay my taxes so somebody in Colorado who I've never met, never will meet, gets to drive on good roads, gets to have health care, gets to send their children to school to get educated, because I understand that their education is in my interest. That their health is in my interest. And so we all pull together. Nationalists would want us to believe that we don't need to pay taxes. We're self-made, every person, every man for himself. A patriot understands that we care for one another. It is love with responsibility and love with accountability. Patriotism is nuanced. Nationalism is simple thinking. I alone can fix it. Nationalism is sticky because it gives very simple solutions to very complex problems. And instead of expanding the tent of inclusivity, it intends to shrink it more and more. And where patriotism instills trust, hope, love with accountability and responsibility, nationalism brings in fear, terror, control. Nationalism would tell you that we are good because we are great. Patriotism tells you that we are great because we do good things. Huge difference. Huge difference. Nationalism is a suffocating, scary place to be, where the rights of more and more people are being stripped away, and there's constantly a group of people picked upon. And once you're done picking on this group of people, you must find another group of people to pick upon. Because nationalism requires a common enemy. If it wasn't for them, we would be fine. And that's why nationalism is sticky. Because it gives you very simple solutions, which are not solutions at all, to very complex problems. But they're not solutions at all. What they are is creators of even larger problems that will take true patriots a long time to fix, to restore, to heal, to bring back into wholeness. Nationalism would have you believe that questioning the government and the administration is betrayal, is unpatriotic. Patriotism understands that an unquestioned government can go haywire. When, during the civil rights movement, the people walked in Selma, they weren't traitors. Not at all. They were patriots in the deepest sense of the word, for they called in the promise of this America, of this United States, that promised an inclusion, that promised a possibility of equity, of living with dignity, equity and equality. So they weren't traitors. In fact, they were the best kind of patriots. The ones who loved their country so much that they demanded it to change. There is a huge difference between patriots and nationalists. Nationalism is sticky because it shuts down thinking. Dear leader said so. It's true. We mustn't think about it anymore. We needn't think about it. Our marching words have been given, commands have been given, so we no longer have to think. That's why nationalism so often is likened to a cult. Because in cults too, dear leader, whoever the cult leader is, tells you how it is, what's what, and then you don't question it. It is like a dysfunctional family. In a dysfunctional family, you don't question. There is no trust either, but you can't question anything. In a functional family, we have conversations. Hey, what was that about? That hurt. Don't do that anymore. Please change. That's not working for me. It's hurting all of us. In a functional family, we love so fiercely that we demand change. It's very inconvenient for a nationalist leader. That's the last thing a national leader would want and would want to tolerate. And they cloak themselves in the flag as if they had the market on patriotism, not realizing that there's no flag big enough to cover the sin and the shame of their cruelty. There's no flag big enough to cover what they've done and they're still doing against immigrants. How they're trying to control universities, the media, taking away rights, Medicaid, Medicare. There's no flag big enough to cover the shame of that. Nationalists would want you to not question that. Follow blindly. Patriots love this country so fiercely that they demand it to change. Now, I have told you this before, that I read it somewhere, and I keep forgetting to look it up who said it before, so I'm quoting somebody. It's not, I didn't come up with this, though I'd be very proud if I did. That the universe isn't made of atoms. It is made of stories. And the nationalists tell a simple story, a simple, sticky story. You don't have to think. All you need to do is belong. And we will tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And then you know who you are great. And our past, oh, that was great. There was nothing wrong with the past. If there was anything wrong, we just tear those pages out of the books of history books. And then we present you a myth, something that never existed, and then we will tell you that we can go back to that we can recreate that which never was. And that's a sticky story. It's a story that they've been telling often enough that there's a group of people, a large group of people who's willing to believe that. And then the rest of us are trying to, it's crazy, we are trying to disprove this story with the truth. So imagine this, telling a lie. How much time does it take to tell a lie? Seconds. All you got to do is come up with it and tell it. The truth is very expensive. You have to research it. You have to make sure that you're accurate. You have to make sure that it's been proved and then proved again and checked and double checked. So when you are trying to respond to a lie with this well-researched truth, this lie has time to grow 1,000 folds before one single truth can be released. Do you see why we have an uphill battle here? And I think we're doing it the wrong way. I think all we have to say is, that's a lie. Everybody knows that's a lie. And this is the vision. This is the vision that we wish to create. We wish to create a world where well-being is not measured in GDP and bank accounts. Well-being is measured in healthcare that is freely available to everybody. In education that is freely available, quality education, quality healthcare that is freely available to everybody. That we are leading you into a world where there's equity and equality for everybody. Those are just lies. This is the vision. We must tell a better story than they are. That's it. We don't have to bring counter arguments to lies. What's the point? That's when you get into the mud with the pigs and the pig likes it and we don't know how to cope. We're not comfortable there. So it's simple. Just call a lie and present your vision of a better story. And tell it often and tell it loudly and let us be unified about the story we tell. Democracy and patriotism is the hard work of doing democracy, of showing up at town hall meetings, of contacting your representatives, of speaking inconvenient truths all the time, everywhere. Speaking inconvenient truths and stay in conversations that are uncomfortable. Remain in those conversations. There's a huge difference between patriots and nationalists. And our Unitarian Universalist faith leaves us no choice but to be good patriots. For we believe in a world that is governed by love, that brings about equity, that cares for the well-being, that cares for the well-being of all. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us into loving this country so much that we demanded to change. That we demanded that we expand the tent of inclusivity so we can all fit underneath it with dignity. That we can all have our need for belonging met. So our choice, I believe, is clear. And even here, in these Unitarian Universalist choice churches, we don't gather here because we are so alike. We gather here because we have covenanted to walk this path together. Not because we are so alike, but because we made a promise that we're going to walk this path together. And that path is paved by love. That path requires us to be action in the face of injustice, cruelty, unkindness, and to tell a story that is so much better than the lies that are circulating today. So, my beloveds, may we be gloriously inconvenient patriots. And may we be that for as long as it is required. And remember, nothing worthwhile is achieved in a lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. So together, we save each other with hope, by hope, and by sticking together. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend G, for reminding us of our responsibilities as patriots to take care of each other and everyone. Now it's time for our offering. Our lives are filled with many blessings. Let's come together with gratitude and love to share a part of these gifts to support our religious community. You can show your love by giving in a practical way to keep our space vibrant and share our positive message. Look at the screen for ways to give, and our ushers are here to collect your offerings. Together, we make a meaningful impact through our shared generosity. Now it's time to extinguish the chalice. As we extinguish the chalice, let us remember to keep the flame awake and alive in our souls, and let the light of the chalice bind us together, showing us the way. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of a community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
There it is. Go forth with a love that heals, that questions, and that binds us together. And may we never confuse comfort for community. And may we build a future that our principles, that the love that we are all governed by, would have us do. And so it is.